All right, so now we're going to look at how to solve multi-step inequalities. Again, you're going to solve them the same exact way that you would solve a equation, but we're going to graph our solution since there is more than one. And then today we're also going to look at interval notation. So interval notation is going to be another way that you can show the answer to the inequality. We're going to use parentheses around a number if it is not included. So that means that there is an open circle, the inequality sign is not underlined, and then we're going to use brackets when the number is included. So that would be a closed circle on the number line. This means that the number is included. And then since infinity, we don't really know what infinity is equal to, it can never technically be included, and so we are going to use parentheses for positive or negative infinity. So we're going to look at a couple of examples here. Again, treat the inequality sign just like it's an equal sign. So our first step, just like with equations, we're going to start by distributing. So now we have 4x plus 12 is greater than negative 24, and then it's just like a two-step equation. So first thing we'll do, we'll get rid of the 12. Since it's being added, we have to subtract it from both sides. So minus 12 on both sides. Both our numbers are negative here, so we're going to add the 24 and the 12, but keep it negative. So now we have 4x is greater than negative 36. And then our last step will be to divide both sides by the 4. Since we're not dividing by a negative, we do not have to flip the sign. And so our answer is that x is greater than negative 9. Now when we go to put this on the number line, just make sure that the negative 9 is on the number line. The other numbers don't really matter as much. Our circle will go over the negative 9, and since it's not underlined, we're not including the negative 9, so we do not fill in the circle. We want x to be greater than negative 9, so we're going to go to the right. So now when we do interval notation, start with your smallest possible solution. So in this case, our smallest possible is negative 9. And then we put a comma and we list our largest solution. Now, since we have the arrow that shows we're going to the right forever, our largest possible solution is going to be infinity. There is no ending point. Infinities will always get a parentheses, and then because the negative 9 is not included, that also gets a parentheses. All right, we'll look at number 2, same idea. So we start by distributing the negative 3. So this first x, we're not doing anything with it. We just have x minus 3x, and then negative 3 times 2 will give us minus 6 is greater than 4. So now we'll move the 6. It's being subtracted. We're going to add 6 to both sides, plus 6 on both sides. And then I'm also going to combine these two x's. So 1 minus 3 will give me negative 2x is greater than 10. And then our last step will be to divide. This time, since we are dividing by a negative 2, we do have to flip the sign. Remember, anytime we multiply or divide by a negative, we have to change that sign. So now we have x is less than 10 divided by negative 2 will give us negative 5. So again, with our number line, we put our negative 5 on the number line. Our circle will go over that negative 5, and we're not filling it in because it's not included. Now I want my x to be less than negative 5, so that would be everything to the left. To do our interval notation, we always start with the smallest number. This time, negative 5 is the biggest solution that we could possibly have. since this goes to the left forever, we're going to put negative infinity, and then we put our -5. So negative infinity is the smallest solution, -5 would be our largest solution, and any number in between those two would work. The infinities always get parentheses, and since this is not a filled-in circle, the -5 also gets parentheses. All right, we're going to do 3 and 4 following those same steps. So step 1, we'll distribute that -2. That 7x is just going to come down. We don't do anything with that. -2x. Be careful with our signs here. We have -2 times -4. That's going to give us a +8. And then that is less than or equal to -2. So again, I'll move my 8. Since it's positive, I'll subtract it from both sides. And then at the same time, we'll go ahead and we'll combine our like terms here. 7x minus 2x will give us 5. So 5x is less than or equal to -10. And then our final step, we're going to divide both sides by 5. So now we have x. I didn't divide by a negative, so I leave my sign, less than or equal to -2. And then we're going to come over and graph our solution and put it in interval notation. So my circle is going to go over that -2. This time, because it's less than or equal to, it's underlined, we do fill in the circle. That means the -2 is included. In these examples up here, we could go up to -5 or down to -9, but that number wasn't included. Here, the -2 is. Since I want my x to be less than, that's everything to the left. And then it just keeps going forever, so we put our arrow. Again, the arrow means we're going to the left forever. And so we're going to be at -infinity for our smallest solution. -2 would be the biggest possible solution. Infinities always get a parentheses, but this time, because the -2 is included, we put a bracket around the -2. So the parentheses means it's not included, it's an open circle. The bracket means it's a closed circle, and that number is included in your solution. All right, and then same thing for number 4. So start with distributing. -8x. Again, watch our signs. -8 times -1 will give us a +8. Bring that minus x down. That's going to be less than or equal to -28. And then we'll go through, we'll start solving. So subtract 8 from both sides. All right, at the same time, I'm going to combine my like terms. So I have -8 and a -1. That'll be -9x. That's less than or equal to -36. And then we're going to divide. Since we're dividing by a negative, we have to flip our sign. So now we have x. Flip our sign is greater than or equal to negative divided by a negative gives us a +4. We come over to our number line. We put our 4. Circle goes with the 4. Again, it's underlined, so we are including the 4. We fill in that circle. And I want my x to be greater than 4, which will be anything to the right. And then we draw our arrow because it goes to the right forever. So now this time, 4 is our smallest number. That is as far as we can go to the left for our solutions. And then we keep going forever, so that would be +infinity. Infinities always get parentheses because technically we can't include that. But because the 4 has a closed circle, it's greater than or equal to 4, we put that bracket for the 4. So these are the 3 different ways that we can show solutions to inequalities. We can show them with the inequality sentence, we can show it with our number line, and then we can show it here with interval notation. So now take a couple of minutes, try out these last few examples, and see how you do. All right, so here are the solution to the last few examples. Now for number 5, we had numbers and letters on both sides. So we moved the 1 by subtracting it from each side, but then we had to move the 2x here to the left. So we do that by adding to cancel it. You should end up with x is less than 1. So the circle goes over the negative 1. I'm sorry, positive 1. Circle goes over the positive 1. And it goes to the left forever. Since it is not filled in, we do not put the bracket, we put the parentheses, and then the smallest number it could get to is negative infinity. Number 6, same idea. We had to move all the numbers to the right, all the variables to the left, and then because we are dividing by a negative 3, we end up flipping the sign. So it goes from the less than sign to the greater than sign. We end up with x is greater than or equal to negative 7. So we start at negative 7, fill in the circle, goes to the right forever, and since the negative 7 is included, we put a bracket around that, and then we go to positive infinity. Number 7, we started by distributing the negative sign, so it becomes minus 2x and plus 7. And then we follow the same steps we did up above. Move all the numbers to the right, move all of our variables to the left, and finish solving. We get x is less than or equal to 6. So we start at 6, fill in our circle, graph goes to the left forever, so it's from negative infinity to positive 6, and we use that bracket. And then 8, 9, and 10 involved some distributing and combining like terms. So for 8, we start by distributing the negative 3 on the left. That's where the 3x and the minus 6 come from. Then we combine our like terms and follow the same steps from up above. Move the variables to the left, the numbers to the right. Same thing with number 9, started by distributing the negative 3 on the left, and then we also had to distribute this negative sign here on the right. So that's why we ended up with negative x and positive 7. Combine our like terms, move variables to the left, move numbers to the right, and then same thing with number 10. Distribute the negative sign, that's where we get negative 3 and minus 3. Distribute the negative 4, and then again follow those same 3 steps. So combine our like terms, that's what we did from here to here. And then we move our numbers to the right, move our variables to the left, and finish solving. Again, because we're dividing by negative 1, we end up flipping the sign and we get x is less than negative 9. So that is how you solve multi-step inequalities. Follow the exact same steps as multi-step equations, and then we graph them, and then this is how we show our interval notation. If the circle is filled in, the number gets a bracket. If the circle is open, the number gets a parentheses, and our infinities, positive and negative infinities, will always get parentheses.